Well, here we are again. Today we're going to talk about the leader system that I use uh, to keep my lures. Today's lures are quite expensive, and you don't want to lose any more than you have to. Here in Wisconsin, we've got a lot of muskies and we got tons of northerns, and these fish have razor sharp teeth, and if you don't run a leader, they're going to cut your line and take your lure. And with the price of lures, you know, one or two, if you lose, it's not so bad. But when it happens all season long, it starts to add up. So we're gonna show you what I'm talking about here. Now, just take a look. We got a fish here. I want to show you the mouth on this thing. This is a 50-inch fish, and if you look in there, you should be able to see it's got some nice teeth, and these things are sharp. I mean, they're just unbelievably sharp. So this is why we use a leader system, and what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I make a leader. So as you can see, this is a good sized fish. Lots of fine eating on that. So let's go in here now and we're going to take a look, and we're going to show you how to make a leader. Get the camera set up in the right spot. I guess that should be pretty good. So now what we're going to do, you're going to need tools. The tools that you're going to need some side cutters. You're going to need a pair of rounded, you can see each of these is round. You'll need this, and I have here some optical side cutters. These are very sharp, and I only use them to trim off the tag ends. Okay, so we're going to do that, and then we're going to use some stainless steel wire. Comes in a package like this, or sometimes it comes like, whoops, like that, or you can find some wire that comes like this. Now it's just stainless steel wire, comes in a coil, so you can cut off as much as you need. So let's just take some of that, and what we're going to do, first thing I want to do is I want to put a loop on the end. Not sure that you'll be able to see this, but we'll give it a shot. We'll do it. And this is where you're going to put your snap swivel. What we're going to do is we're going to put a leader on a bass size crankbait. So I'm using 44-pound test stainless steel wire. What I'm doing is I'm wrapping it around the plier. I have to move the plier just a little bit to complete the circle. And let's see, I'm not sure if you can see that or not. It's probably pretty tough. Alright, so what I have here is I've got a loop. I've just made a loop, and now we're going to put the plier on that loop, and we're going to take and wrap this tag end around. I'm going to wrap it around 5 times. That's always been plenty. And I want to make sure that the tag end comes up in line with the loop. Okay, in other words, the loop is straight up and down this way, and I want the tag end the same way. Alright, I don't have it quite there. One more little kink. Alright, so now when I'm doing a bass lure, let's get a lure here, and so we're going to put leader on this bait so we can use it for fishing. We don't want this to disappear, because this one was like up in the $15-16 neighborhood, and that's a lot of money to throw away to leave it in some fish's mouth swimming around. So what we're going to do here, I like to make my leaders about 6.5 to 7 inches long. So I'm going to measure the wire. I've made my loop here, and so there's 7, and we're going to put on an extra 1.75 inches or so Now we'll take this cutter here. I don't want to dull the other one, so I use this one. And we're going to cut that off. And now that we've cut that off, set that aside. And now we're going to take and find out where to put our bend, okay? Now, we got to, all right, the loop is there. So I want to make this about 7 inches long. I'm going to want to bend it right here. So again, I put a kink down and I wrap this around the pliers. I got to rotate the pliers so I get a perfect loop. And obviously the farther down you go, smaller the loop. This will be sufficient. Take the tag end, and as you can see there's a little split ring on this lure, and you insert that in there, grab the tag end along with the wire leader you're making, and just pull it and it'll pop on. Okay, so now go back with our pliers, our rounded ones, and then what you're going to do is do the same thing you did on the other end. Alright, by putting this wire leader on here, you're keeping the snap swivel away from the lure. Okay, the weight of the snap swivel will sometimes affect the action of the lure. By doing it this way, you eliminate that problem. So now I want the way the lure hangs, I want the tag end just a little more over here. Okay, now we've got our tag ends. So now we need to trim these ends. I don't know if you can see it or not. We need to trim these ends as close to the main leader wire as possible so that it doesn't snag weeds. So I get out my real super duper super sharp pliers, put my finger over the end, and nip that right off. Alright, now I'm just going to feel it, and we did a good job on that one. So now we got to do the other end where the snap swivel would go, where it's tied to your line. Now then, we'll just take, whoops, I went to the eye doctor this morning, I can't see 2 cents. Now that one, that one did not come out as well. Okay, so let me go back there and see if I can. I've tied so many of these, but it's still a challenge. Alright, let me find out where it is. Alright. Okay. There we go. Now, what we have, this will be where your snap swivel goes, and now the lure is free to have good action, and you're ready to fish this lure. Now, like I said, I make them 7 inches for bass fishing. 6.5, 7 inches is good, because we're trying to protect the lure from northerns. Northerns are quite common where bass live, so you will run across them. Sometimes you have to wade yourself through a number of northerns before you find a bass, and so this lure is going to take a little bit of abuse. Now when I'm tying up a musky lure, I have one right here. It's been through the war, as you can see. She's pretty mangled, and wherever the paint chipped from previous strikes, I put a red magic, take a red Sharpie pen, so it looks like blood. You know, I don't bother trying to repaint these because it's too much hassle. But as you can see, this lure is totally torn apart from a fish. And maybe you can also see that there is a wire that this hook is hanging on. That runs all the way through this particular lure. This is a very good lure. But now when I make my wire leader for this lure, it has a split ring on it right here. So I go, whoops, we'll do it do it this way. I make the wire as long as the lure, so that way if it wraps around, you're keeping the line out of the way of the lure, because the fish is going to come up and hit this lure. And most times they'll come up and hit it sideways, right across the back. That's how muskies always hit, traditionally. Every once in a while you get an oddball. You'll hit it head first, tail first. But 95% of the time they're going to hit sideways. Bass, on the other hand, just suck it in. So you can see the difference. So that is my leader system for crankbaits. Okay, now if I was to want to fish a spinnerbait, what I would do is, instead of this lure being here, I would put a snap swivel on here, and then you would tie this end to your line. Okay, then you're keeping the snap swivel down close to the lure. With a spinnerbait, you don't have to worry about the swivel weight affecting the lure, and it's all part of the spinnerbait, so the fish is not, it's not going to bother the fish. But with this here, you're keeping the snap swivel way up here, up on top, and that keeps the weight away from the lure so it has good action. Also, it doesn't put any extra junk on the lure. Okay, so the fish is pretty much only sees the lure. That's it. So when he comes in, he's got it. So that's how you do that. And if you have any questions, I guess I won't be able to answer them because not unless you give me a call. So, but anyway, that's how that's the leader system I use. And as you can see, going back to this musky one here, you can see that this particular wire, this is a 104 pound wire leader versus the 44. As you can see, it's pretty well bent. The thing about this stainless steel wire is you can take and straighten this back out well enough to continue fishing with it. So if a fish does bend it, you know, you just straighten it out a number of times and it'll be good to go. So this is an important little leader system. Then I've caught tons of fish on this. I've been using it for I don't know how many years. But you don't want any more terminal tackle by the bait than absolutely necessary. So that's why I put it on to I mount my crankbaits like this. It does make a little bit of a mess in the box, but once you get them out and you use them, it really does the job. So I think that if we hit, I do have one more lure here, but I think you get the idea on how to do this. I'm just going to take and put a loop in the end of this wire one more time to maybe show you, because I've got more lures that I have to put leaders on. So again, you go in about 1.5 inches, and you take and you turn, like put your thumb here, give a little twist, take your forefinger and then grab your thumb, continue to wrap it around the plier, move the plier a few degrees, and what you want to end up with is a loop, a circle. Let me just see if this helps. I can't, whoops. I'm not sure where the camera's pointing here, but maybe you can see that. And so, okay, we got that tag end on there. Now, if you remember what I said, you take the little round pliers here and you put it across the loop that you just made. And then you're going to take and you're going to wrap it around the wire. You're going to try to do it about 5 times. That'll be sufficient. More than sufficient, actually. All right. So now that you've got it wrapped, I didn't count the number of times, so I don't know how many times I wrapped it, but it looks pretty good to me. So, but anyway, there's the loop. Alright, now we're going to cut that tag end off. We take our little surgical side cutters here, and we're going to just take and slide it. I better hold it with this. This is better. This is a better idea, I think. Alright, now I can get my plier in there. And then I put my finger over the end so it doesn't go flying all over the room. And what do we got? I don't know. It's missing. Alright, as you can see, hopefully, now we have a nice neat little loop there. It's all wrapped up. And that's where the snap swivel is going to go for the next crankbait. So that's pretty well tells you how to do it, and then you just do the same thing again like I showed you before, how to put the crankbait on. Before you start doing your wraps, slide that little leader, the eye split ring thing over that tag end, and you put the lure on and do the same thing, do the wraps, and then trim the tag end, and that's it. It's a very cool system and it works great. So that's how to do that. Now we've covered how to set up your bait cast reel, adjusting the side tension for each lure that you use. Obviously, you can't throw this bait with the same pole, but if you get the idea here, this lure is bigger than this lure. So they're going to have a different weight. Okay, so so you would have to readjust your side tension to change these two lures. A lot of lures are somewhat similar in size, and once you've had a lot of practice casting, you don't need to adjust the side tension. But anyway, that's something you need to keep in mind. Different size lures, you got to readjust that side tension. So, having said all that, we'll just close her out for right now.